Hey everybody. So yeah, yesterday was a pretty amazing day, I think. And there was a few issues or things that like yesterday's experience really made me think about. Um, and I did want to share my thoughts on those. I know I normally spend, I very rarely, I always share my opinions about things, because hey, it's my channel. I try not to get, you know, like out very far away from technology. I think it's all my comments are generally technological in some way, at least very technological adjacent conversations. But this, I think, like three big sort of ideas were part of my experience yesterday. And the first thing is like this the ID thing. So yesterday, basically, if you didn't watch yesterday's video, I had a bug, and what happened? It didn't like I had animated some stuff in the scene as testing, and the animation worked, but I never animated the scene itself, which is very subtle. Right, that's a very subtle thing. I could totally see, like if you had like a very professional QA team, since they don't really understand how necessarily how all the code works, they might have just animated something in the scene and then it passed all of the tests and then this got all the way out to production for users. And then I could see this being animating the actual scene colors being the kind of thing that production users don't ever use or very rarely use. So then that bug could just sit out there and nobody could understand it or care. Maybe even the people who build animations may never notice that, oh, my scene's not animating anymore. So that's kind of just a very what I would call an exotic bug. It's a bug that could sneak through. And then a lot of times when you're the developer, those bugs will, like, you'll figure out that the bug happened before anybody else does. Before QA or any users or anything, you go, oh crap, I created that bug. And that's a very weird place to be because usually every line of code is sort of examined and re-examined. And if you say, hey, we have this crazy production bug that went out, it kind of makes everybody look bad, and you don't make any friends that way. Like your manager looked at the code and approved it. Your coworkers looked at the code and they approved it. The QA team looked at the code, they approved it. The BA took a look at the functionality and they approved it, and everybody missed this bug. And if you come out and you're just like screaming at the top of your lungs, there's a production bug, and we all missed it, like I said, you aren't going to make any friends that way. So there's sort of two approaches I normally see developers take in this situation, and this situation does come up quite often. The first approach is, well, there's really three approaches. One, you do a few times and then you remember, don't do this anymore. And that's you sort of chicken little this thing. You go scream at the top of your lungs. I have a production bug. I have a production bug. Blah 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 blah. Everyone looks bad. Blah blah blah. And it gets fixed. And everyone you blackened everybody's eye in the process for no good reason too, because no one was ever never even cared. The other thing a lot of people do is they just will kind of put it away in the back of their head, and then when the bug shows up, when someone figures out the bug 3 months from now, they present themselves as the knight in shining armor that fixed the bug. Oh, how did you even know it? It's because they remember it. Now, unfortunately or fortunate, probably more fortunately, I don't have that kind of memory. I have a memory. I don't know. I don't remember things like that, so that would not be an option for me is to put that away. So typically, what I'll do is I'll kind of write a bug because most places the developers are allowed to observe and write bugs, and I'll write a bug, and I'll be like, this bug is, and I'll write it in a very non intense way, to just kind of be like, hey, IDs are very technological techno jargon kind of thing. IDs aren't being appropriately assigned via interfaces or something. Something that just isn't going to make a lot of sense to the casual reader. And then, but like when they see the fix, then it'll make total sense. See, sometimes you can make descriptions that make sense, and then and it makes any sense. But then sometimes you can make descriptions that only make sense in the context of the fix. So that would be the kind of there's the fix, and then when they go and look at the description, they're like, oh yeah, no, that perfectly describes the fix. But it makes no sense if you don't have the fix as context. So typically I'll try to write something that like is like that, and then I'll write the fix, and then I'll push it. I mean, I won't push it. I'll commit it. Yeah, I'll commit it. I'll make a branch, and I'll commit it, and I'll push the branch, and it's just some weird branch that's out there. And then just kind of listen carefully. And then if someone says, "Oh, there's this weird bug where the scene color animations aren't working," or something like that, and then you go, "Oh, you know what? I think that is related to the IDs not being set. I have a branch out there that fixes this. So if it gets assigned to somebody else, you just tell them about the branch, and if it gets assigned, if they are looking for someone to assign it to, you say, oh, I got that, and whatever, and then it just resolves itself, and it's never a big deal, and it gets fixed, and no one really cares, and it's just like no harm, no foul. That's a really good way to do it. I think that's the best way to do something like that. Is just get a fix out there, put it in a branch, maybe as part of one of your stand-ups, mention it. Hey, there's the IDs aren't being set properly. I have a branch out there for it. I'm not sure what the implications are of this. Blah blah blah. Just let it go and then fix it as soon as it comes up. That is one. So that's number one. The timing. Okay, so I saw that problem. Now it would have been every instinct of my body told me, ignore this, just get the fog implemented. But the thing is because the minute I saw that the ID was set to -1, something provoked in me going, oh shit, that's right, I was supposed to fix that. And it was easy to fix. I really do think that had I not done it that way, and let's say like I put that aside, I didn't fix it, and then like I decided, oh, and maybe the next round, like I go through everything, and the next round I fix this this animation. It probably would have taken literally 10 times as long to find. So it is very important when if you make some sort of change, and then you find a bug that you think is very likely caused by your change, to sort of address that ASAP, even if it isn't high on the corporate priority list. Because corporations, the people you work for, will always have priorities, and something like that may not be a high priority. Now, that wasn't that big of a deal because it was the scenes, and scene animation just isn't really a big part of anything. So, there's that. But anyways, so that's that. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to kind of talk about is, so I hear the word token in around software development all the time. Like, oh, you get a token, give the API a token. There's all kinds of tokens and stuff. And like, so when I was growing up, a token was like, you go up to a machine, put $1 into it, and then you get a bunch of tokens back. And I'm assuming that whoever kind of whoever made that word like a part of APIs and stuff, probably had a very similar background. Like most of us that were exposed to computers at a young age played video games, and we used to play Pac-Man and Space Invaders and all that, and you'd go to an arcade and you'd give your $1, and then you'd get tokens back out of it, and then you put the tokens in the machine. And so a token is just like something that you get, and then you put it into something, and then that something knows how to give you what you want for that token, right? And so in this example, this ThreeJS 3 service, it takes a scene item, and it takes this scene item, and then it turns it into a scene in ThreeJS. See, so this is kind of like a token. You give it this thing, and then it knows how to use that thing in order to make the change you want. And I believe that that is what, in general, they mean when they say a token, is like it's just something that has enough information to do what you want to do. Yeah, I don't think it's anything beyond that. So like, um, so in like they'll say, oh, in the injectors, service injectors in Angular, you give it a token. Well, that's something that you give to the injector service, and then it knows based on that token, that thing that you give it, how to give you what you want or do what you want. You know, and I think it's as simple as that. Um, I get a bit triggered, unfortunately, whenever I hear the word token in because every single time I've ever heard that word, 99 times out of 100, when someone uses that word, I get confused. And so I have that sort of that muscle memory in my brain of, oh, you hear the word token, you're about to be confused. That's just the way it is. And I think that, that, yes, that when I did this splitting where I splitted the ThreeJS stuff from the Showtime stuff, the concept of a token at that moment or last night as I was thinking through all this stuff, that concept became cemented or solidified for me. Um, that, oh, okay, all it is something that you give to something and it does what you want. It's sort of a, just, it's a token is really what it is. So I don't know. I feel really good about learning that, and I definitely wanted to talk about it in this video so that it would be further cemented in my brain. Um, so yeah, the next thing I want to work on in this project is the fogs. Now, the one big question mark I was like, is the kind of the way we came at this information made it kind of sound like fog and fog X were mutually exclusive. Like you could use fog exp, which basically shows how dense the fog is supposed to be. Um, uh, or you could use the fog, which basically says when the fog starts and when the fog ends. But I was kind of thinking through it, and I was like, well, maybe you can do both. So, like, if you go to my scenes, like the way I coded this thing is you could have no fog, you can have linear fog, or you can have exponential fog. But maybe you can have both fogs. So let's just check that out. So ChatGPT, OpenAI. I think we're done over here. Um, so can you use fog fog exp and fog at the same time in ThreeJS question mark? And see, now I can hit enter because it's full size. If it's okay, so you can only use one fog at a time, which refers you must choose one type of fog. So okay, yeah, I guess that. Okay, so that was like the other question, and the now that I'm a little bit deeper into fog, I thought maybe there was a scene.fog exp to and a scene.fog. I thought maybe these were two things. Yeah, and it's basically saying, hey, you're just gonna overwrite the other one, dummy. Um, I'm glad it didn't say dummy because that would be rude, and I've never seen ChatGPT be rude before. ChatGPT would do very well in the South, where we try really hard not to be rude. Um, so it increases. Okay, so that's the other thing is that I couldn't remember if you give it a point, the more or less is how foggy it is, but it's how foggy it is as you get farther away, as the object moves farther away, and it increases. So I'm wondering if fog exp be negative. I don't think that even makes any sense, but let's see. No, density parameters cannot be negative. It must be a non-negative value, 0 or positive. So yeah, it it got triggered. I triggered it. Um, anyways, so yeah, so we know that now. So it's basically tomorrow, I want to be able to say, let's see, this road. I'm curious what scene looks like. Um, so yeah, I want to be able to say, if I select linear, then oh, there's a weird dash in there. If I select linear, then I get a one set of I get a form one set of form things, and if I hit that, I get the other one, and then um, yeah, and then that should be tomorrow. Let's see. We, I did see one little bug that I think we can fix very quickly right now, and that's in the scene, probably in the HTML. Yeah, and it's this dash here. So let's go ahead and take care of that, and let's go ahead and resize, and let's go smaller, and then so if we go to scene, hit the down, yep, now we don't have a dash anymore. I definitely think that, like, when I move from the proof of concept to the MVP part, I definitely want to be able to expand, and then this automatically expands. And another thing that I've been thinking about, I'd like, is to be able to control the number of windows. So I would love to have two windows here where I can look at the same thing but from two different angles. So I have two different cameras. So when I come in here, I have a list of cameras, and then I open it up and all that. I think that would be a really cool. I don't think there's any reason to prove that that can be done. Maybe that should be part of the proof of concept. But I do think that that's. I think it's very obvious that that would work. That you could have two renderers and two all that, and that would be a pretty. It's probably not crazy, but it would be a bit of a refactor. Anyways, yeah. So tomorrow, that's what's on tap, is to be able to just see two different forms and fill those out, and hopefully fill those out. And then we'll go on from there. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.